Today we're joined by Machete Williams, the Jackson, Michigan native, who's not only a former pro MMA fighter with black belts in Taekwondo and Shokotan Karate, but now one of the driving forces behind Michigan's Murcielago MMA. His journey from the cage to the coach's corner has shaped some of the most exciting prospects in combat sports. Mo, welcome. How you doing today?
Hey, how you doing? It's awesome to be on the show. I'm blessed to be able to tell a little bit about myself.
Absolutely. Appreciate you joining me, brother. Well, let's rewind it back if we could to the beginning, if you would. I won't go too far back here, but I do want to understand a little bit about your upbringing growing up in Jackson, Michigan, and really starting martial arts at an early age. Can you tell us about kind of early life and what really first started shaping your future in combat sports early on?
Okay, so yeah, it was just simple. I grew up in Jackson, Michigan, a small town. It's like an hour in between Detroit. It's an hour in between Kalamazoo. It's an hour, like a little bit over an hour in between Grand Rapids, Michigan. I grew up in that time period. Like everybody was doing like martial arts. I started doing taekwondo when I was about around about four years old, and then I started doing like from there. I kind of was doing taekwondo. I was doing karate. Just like an '80s baby growing up, watching martial arts stuff like that. And then I got into competing nationally in taekwondo and kickboxing and karate, and just I fell in love with it. I got coming from a family of people that then did martial arts and stuff like that. It kind of, it made sense for me. I was good at it. So, and then from there, I went on to, one day I was kind of in between, like, do I want to go back and compete in Taekwondo, and do I want to compete in more traditional martial arts? And then my coach, like Quincy Rice, rest in peace to him, at Jackson MMA. He was like, "Hey, would you want to come in and maybe like do like some teaching or whatever else?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll come in there." Um, I wasn't really thinking about like fighting at the time, but I was like, "Yeah, I'll come in there and maybe teach a couple classes with some kickboxing." And but I was already kind of like cornering people and like training on and off, still like doing MMA and stuff like that. And right from there, and he was like, "Hey, maybe you think about fighting." And I was like, "Let me try it out." And then maybe about 3 months in, I took my first amateur MMA fight, and then here we are now. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
15 years down the line that, what I mean, I'm, in the game, and, yeah, it's been a wild ride. It's been a beautiful, crazy, amazing, martial arts fighting saved my life. You know,
Mm.
um, I've been on, both sides of the fence. I've been in trouble. Did great things. I done lived a great story, and it's still fulfilling now to this day with the journey that I'm on now. I pour back into my fighters now. You know what I'm saying? I kind of
Hmm.
try to like give them, more like the right tools to carry themselves through the journey in the fight game. Um,
Right.
I mean, I always tell my guys, you want to be a martial artist first, athlete second, right?
Hmm.
And then the
Hmm.
fighter, then the
Mm.
fighter. You want to be the fighter
Ex-
last, but you want to be the martial
Explain
artist.
that.
Uh,
Explain that. Why
the
why
reason
somebody would want to be the martial
why I
artist
say
first?
that is because the martial artist is gonna get you up in the morning. The martial artist is gonna have you be able to, train regardless if you're tired, train regardless if you're doing it, regardless if you win, regardless if uh you lose. That's gonna give you the foundation because you want to be a martial artist first. It gives you the indomitable spirit, it gives you to pass it all to someone else. Then will
Mm.
be the athlete. The athlete is going to make sure that you're keeping your diet right. You're going to make sure that you're going to get your strength and conditioning. You're doing your nutrition. You're getting your recovery. You're investing so much time into your body, your mind, and then the fighter goes.
Yeah.
But then that's when the money comes. The fighter,
Mm.
the prize fighter, the dog that's inside you. Uh, you know, that's that you get to be as barbaric, as simple as you can, because fighting is the easiest thing since humans could do since the beginning of time. Two
Mm.
people test out the test of faith, see who's a better man or woman. then you can go in there. But you want to be the fighter last because
Mm,
the 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 fighter, the fighter part, it seems like right now a lot of people want to be the fighter, but they forget to be the athlete. They forget to be the martial artist.
mm. I'm glad that you're kind of tapping into the philosophical side of you as a coach because I did want to ask you about that and how you train people to get to this particular juncture where they are able to then apply what you're teaching them,
Mhm.
and readily use that to become the elite version of themselves. And would you say that that's probably one of the pinnacle areas of what you focus on, which is this mental aspect of it before everything else? Would you say that's the case?
Um, yeah, I talked to my with me being in the game, and from the highest of the highs and the lowest of the lows, I will, I try to really, eh, you got to live, you got to live right before
Mhm.
you can go fight right. Living
Mhm.
and fighting is such a big vision of who you are. If you're living
Mhm.
crazy, if you're, not taking care of yourself, you're not, doing the things that you need to do outside, trying to have your life together as much as possible before you try to go do something beautiful and be great. You got to try to be living the best way. You got to be, you got to have some inner peace, some inner happiness, some self love.
Mm.
Because you're about to give your all, your dreams, your ambitions, your hard work for 15 to 25 minutes of someone else's entertainment. Like they will never
Right.
remember that fight, but that fight's going to take a little bit of you and it's going to take a
Mm.
little bit of you. You know what I'm saying? So
Well.
uh, I really, because the easiest thing you can do is go fight. Fighting is easy, you
Mm.
know? You're on autopilot most of the time you're in there anyway. But
Right.
coming up to the fight, leading up to the fight, it's such a major thing. Days and hours and nights and lonely moments and people giving up on you, sponsors dropping you, your family asking why you should do this. All these things leading up to the fight is such a major pinnacle where you're before you even get to that, get to the ring or the cage because the fight can be lost 90 days ago, 6 months ago, a
Mm.
year ago. You know,
Mhm.
so the mental side is such a major part, especially, me being a big advocate for, mental health also, and especially like in professional sports. That's a major thing because you can see when someone's like they're living right, they're happy, the fight, they're in the fight and it looks so beautiful. But then you can see when somebody when things are like, not saying that they're going through hard times, but their
Mhm.
life is not structured. They seem like they can never get it back.
Right. Well, like you said, every time they step in there, there's a piece of their life getting stripped away. And if they don't have those proper foundational elements, then you not only lose before you get to the fight, but then you also lose a part of yourself in the process. That's a pretty big gamble
Of
to
course,
take.
of course.
Yeah, that's huge. Looking back at your own professional career, because you've been in the game for a minute. It's been a while since you've personally been in the ring doing so yourself, but you've had a lot of lessons, I'm sure, in every fight that came about. And what would you say are some of the biggest maybe lessons you've taken that have now been able to help you apply them into coaching, whether it was a setback or a big win? Like, what was some of
Um,
the biggest things?
it's so easy for me to answer that question, and it's going to sound uh, so cliche and simple, but I never fought anyone. I never fought one person.
Mm,
I never, I, I never had a match with an opponent. Every fight that I ever had, win or lose, was with myself. I never fought one person in
mm,
there.
wow,
I
yeah,
never stepped in there with anyone. I stepped in there and I fought the person that I looked over right across in the mirror. That's the person that I fought. I never once
mm,
had one opponent. It was me, you know, uh, because it was, you know, before my team, before the coaches, before that, it was a moment with me and myself. You know, I never fought one person. So
mm,
when you get to that point, when you feel that, you know, that's what can get you back in there because it's like regardless if you felt you gave your all, you gave your less, it was you and it was you versus you. You know,
mhm,
And
Yeah.
that will keep you scared. Because if you're not scared before you go do that dance, you don't need to do it no
Mm,
more. Like you still don't get those
mm,
jitteries, you still don't get those butterflies, you still don't get that feeling when you know, that when that first time is there and you can't do it no more.
hmm.
It's not for you no more. And not so I done had a lot of matches with myself. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. What would you say was the turning point as some well, let me back up and say it this way, because what you just mentioned reminded me of this when you said, "Hey, you didn't fight anybody but yourself, and you're not ready to continue doing it if you don't have a little bit of fear there, and there's not these jitters there." But what was it that caused you to then make a pivot into competing yourself to coaching others for
Um,
competition?
it's kind of crazy because I always was like I was always coaching. I was always coaching
Yeah.
when I was competing though. I was still always coaching. Like I was cornering. I would get done fighting and go corner somebody.
Mm,
I was cornering. I probably didn't corner uh maybe like 20 people before I even made my first amateur debut in MMA. I was a
mhm,
national coach for taekwondo. I was already like I the man upstairs, the universe has always kind of put me in a position to be a leader, even when I didn't think that I would be one. So I kind of always was like, you know, in that position. So it kind of was like,
mhm,
but it was instilled in me because I have very traditional instructors in doing martial arts. So I was very blessed to have, an Asian instructor in Taekwondo and a Japanese instructor and karate. And that's the major like the major point about martial arts is passing them back on. What I've been given, I got to
mhm,
give it back on. So if I've been given this, I got to pour it back on to someone else. I got to keep
mhm,
art alive. That's how the art dies. If you're just a practitioner and the fighter, but someone's got to be your samurai, somebody got to be the sensei, someone has to be the person to give it back to someone else. So then if they don't, then the art will die.
mm. Yeah. So, it's kind of been one of those things that it was almost natural for you coming up in martial arts, but it sounds like you really took it to heart to saying, "Hey, I need to pass this on to the next generation."
Oh, of course. Of course. I always been like I've never been a person to safeguard uh, the information and the art that I've been getting. Just like my head coach there at Murcielago, Joaquin, from the time that, Bill Lamb is always like, hey, we must always give back to what we've been given.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
and he always told us one day I'm not always gonna be here. And I
Mhm.
and when we were younger, he was like, I need you guys to step up into these roles, because coach is like a father to us
Mm,
and that's why our team is so close. And my team has always been like, hey, once what I mean, you gotta get this back because, you know, I'm getting older. I'm not always going to just be in here full time like that. And it's fine because, a lot of us then took
mhm,
on to the roles, especially myself. I mean, we just, I took on to it and it's been, and it was just natural to do that, I mean, to give back to the guys because someone had to give it to us, to get to where we at. The boat
mhm.
must keep rolling, and
Yeah.
must be
Well,
fed.
yeah, with that, like, how do you guys currently like, it sounds like maybe responsibilities are kind of maybe increasingly over time
Mhm,
getting increased
mhm.
over to yourself and other coaches and whatnot. How do the responsibilities currently play out with your team?
Um, it's a beautiful, crazy, wow ride.
Uh,
Man, yeah. Sometimes I get chills to think about like where we're at now. It's the responsibility is high. Coach just got back from China with Charles Energy Johnson.
mm,
He just fought over there in China, UFC China. He got the KO in the second round, and coach was there, and then I was taking care of the gym, and then prior to that, we were here at the local shows, and then before that was with my cousin Chaos Williams at there in in New Jersey, and then Vegas, and then Then at the PFL, he was out there influences for with Mondo, Gutierrez, and then now we're going. Prior to that, we're going to be traveling to Anthony Pettis' car there in November for some of our prospects, and then yeah, it's just it's just beautiful. It's just a beautiful. It's a beautiful, just a beautiful wild ride, like where we're at right now.
Mm.
And um, sometimes sometimes you gotta enjoy the ride. Because
Mm.
if you don't enjoy the ride, because you're always looking for the next thing. Like, okay, you know,
Right.
we can't be too stuck on this rule, can't be too stuck on that.
Uh-huh.
Like
Yeah.
sometimes you just gotta be like, no, look where we came from. Look how
Mm.
far we made it. Michigan
Yeah.
MMA. Like some
Yeah,
guys from
absolutely.
Michigan.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty humbling, I bet, huh? It really humbles you to think about it.
um, I, so so this is the thing though. It's like, and I tell my guys this too. In this sport, in this life, you were given humbleness very early, right? When you had to wait in line, when you was at the bottom, when the sponsors wasn't seeing you, they wasn't giving you anything. I'm like, you gotta be very careful with how much humbleness you want to put into your energy,
Mm.
because humbleness can also be another another way for people to want to keep you right back to when you stood in line before you was able to cut in line. Not saying being
Interesting.
arrogant, but also being have
Yeah.
a lot of self confidence. And
Mhm.
remember, you knew you were humble because you had to
Mhm.
go through that hurt. You
Right.
remember when the little car dealership wouldn't give you $100. You remember when someone would buy a T-shirt from you. I was humbled then. Now,
Mhm.
now I gotta let you know and show you that you could have been here with us, but you didn't believe.
Mm.
I'm not being disrespectful, nor am I'm being arrogant. But I was humble.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? When I was trying to sell tickets and you wouldn't even come to my amateur fight. So wait before
Wow.
you want to come here to the UFC and get some
Mhm.
tickets calm. You didn't, you know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
way before you get on this yacht, someone got to get on this tugboat. There way before
Uh-huh.
way before we get on this private plane, you're gonna have to go ahead and fly domestic with us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you gotta make sure, because it's a fine line, because people want to make sure that they want to keep you still. Remember, through a lot of the humbleness was a lot of pain,
Mhm.
but a lot of greatness from a lot of confidence.
Wow. Okay, that's wonderful insight. Yeah, you guys dropping some gold right here. This is good. It reminds me a little bit of what I was peeking online. I was checking out your cousin, Chaos Williams,
Hmm.
and seeing some of the posts that he had, and he was showing the balance of that. So exactly what you're describing right now reminds me of some of the depiction of his stories that he was posting on social here,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking of all these different fighters, like Chaos Williams and Daquan Townsend. I mean,
Right.
they've helped your gym earn some recognition, on the national stage.
Yeah.
How do you personally look at customizing training, if you would, for athletes such as this with different strengths, body types, mental approaches, etc.
My the biggest thing with the fighters is that I gotta get to know you, right?
Hmm.
I gotta I gotta get to know you. I gotta I gotta I gotta get to know exactly. I gotta get to know who you are, and then because fighting is such a, a picture of who you are, right? It's a personality.
Hmm.
Personality is such a major thing. You got to know who you are to fight. You got to know who you
Yeah.
are. You can't have an identity crisis, because then you're gonna have
Hmm.
crisis in your mind. You fighting. Fighting is just
Yeah.
you're painting a beautiful picture while you're in there doing something devastating. So I know
Mm.
my guys. I know things that trigger them. I know what they're good at. I know their attributes. I spend a lot of time with them. Like we're a family. So
Mm.
I mean, that's a major thing. And then we can get it into the point of, let's go ahead and get the display of the art. You know what I mean? Um,
Hmm.
Fighting is so much up here. People feel like it's so it's so physical, but it's not. We're so mental. Like a good coach
Yeah.
knows this person. I know them.
Mm.
I know how to bring that up out of them. I know how to speak to them. I'm honest with you. I'm not
Yeah.
because you're putting you're putting your life, you're putting everything on the line. So with that being said, I gotta make sure that I do my due diligence to do my part. If you trust
Mhm.
that with me, then we gotta, we had that. So I'll ask you like,
Mhm.
hey, how you doing? Like, how you feeling? Where's your mind at? Way before, what I mean, we get into the physical.
Yeah, that's good. It reminds me of literally a recent conversation a week or 2 ago I was having with a coach locally at a gym, and he was describing something very similar with his fighters. And what you just described to me, I think, is the epitome of the saying that says, "A man's heart is deep waters, and a man of understanding draws it out." And as a coach, you got to know your people well enough to be able to draw out what's inside of them, which there's greatness inside of them, but sometimes you got to get through all the mess to tap into that and help them see it for themselves. And it sounds like that's a lot of what you're doing is really getting to know your people so you know how to draw it out
Yeah,
inside of them.
you gotta like we gonna win together. We gonna cry together. We gonna celebrate together. We gonna go through all of it. What I mean? The highest of the highs and the lowest of the lows. We're okay with that.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like that we're all right with that. And uh you know, people can go on and on and on and on about, this fight style and how they supposed to prepare and the recovery and the diet and having, this nutritionist, the strength and conditioning coach, kickboxing coach, wrestling coach, all that. But the one thing that you need to have around you that's so major, you gotta have somebody around you that loves you. A
Mm.
lot of times it's not going a lot of times, and I'm not the one to sugarcoat it. A lot of times the fight don't gonna give you no love back.
Right.
So you got like
Wow.
way before, because when you're winning, everybody loves you. Right?
Right.
You can go anywhere in the world, anywhere in the world,
Mhm.
anywhere in the world. Like you know what I'm saying. And also, when it's your time, it's just your time. Like
Mhm.
when John Jones he was gonna be great no matter where he went. No matter where he went, he could have been at the Little
Mm.
Dragons dojo. He was gonna be a world
Mm.
champion. It's just
Mhm.
when it's your time, it's your time. But when life starts lightening and it starts getting
Mm.
dark and things start, everyone has a day and a number of this time for you to take an L. Just like it's a day and a time when you're about to leave this, when we're gonna leave this life. You got to
Right.
make sure you have people around you that love you.
Wow. Wow,
That's
that's
the
powerful.
that's the major thing. I tell
Mhm.
any up and coming fighter, anybody that's undefeated on that win streak, not don't have the win streak. Just have somebody.
Mm.
Make sure you got somebody around you that love you, that love
Mhm.
you know, because you can pay anybody to go in and give you some synthetic, you know,
Mhm.
motivation. But who's gonna
Right.
the real love? And real love, a lot of
Mhm.
times in this fight game. So you got to have somebody around
That's
that love you.
yeah. That's so insightful, and it's also I can imagine challenging for people to find that. Like, what's the secret sauce to finding the right squad to surround yourself with that can provide that for you, if there is one?
That's the thing about it is that we're getting into like we're moving into the golden age of mixed martial arts, combative arts, and where everything is, people's making big money. They're about to have the UFC at the White House, Madison Square Garden. Guys are doing flat rates, millions and millions of
Mm.
dollars. People around the world are starting. They got all these other countries is that, they're making superstars and stuff like that. And so um, with that being said is that, the more that it get, when they the more that it's gonna get more pressure on your heart.
Mm.
The, the more people see
Mm.
you, the more the comment section gets higher. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that means you need more love. You need more.
Mhm.
You're gonna because when you win it's good. You can go anywhere. You can go to anything you want. Every team
Mhm.
wants you, right?
Right. They
I
all love you, huh? They all
I
love
was
you.
told yesterday, oh, that's good, that's great, this is good, that's great. And he said, well, I want you to come into the gym. I'd rather you feel broken. I feel like you don't want to do this no more. I want you to I want to be honest with you. Because if you paying me, you know, it's the opposite. If you paying me, I should be telling you you ain't doing things right. But if you
Mhm.
ain't paying me, I'll probably be telling you doing more things is right. Right? Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you
Uh-huh.
giving me money, that don't look good. You ain't giving me money, that looks good. Right?
Right.
If that's the intention, right?
Mhm.
If it's all about the money, then you probably should be getting told
Mhm.
that you ain't, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Then the other way around. But a
Right.
lot
You
of
ought to be
times
getting some honesty.
the game now is like you're giving them they get money. Oh, you look good, champ. Good job, champ.
Uh-huh.
Instead of being like, man, what are we doing?
Mm.
Right? Because every day ain't gonna be good. You ain't having a phenomenal fight camp, right? You're lying to
Mm.
yourself. You know,
Yeah.
and you're gonna fight through injuries. That's if you're training right. If you're training right,
Mhm.
things is not gonna be going right. Probably gonna be looking like I shouldn't even about to make the wall. And the
Mhm.
right team is gonna be there with you though, right? That's why it's called the hurt business. I
Right.
mean, it hurts way before you get to the cage, to the ring. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
gotta have that. You gotta have that groundness. You gotta have that. And sometimes it takes you to, go on your own journey. You want to go. You gotta go to this gym and that gym and this gym and feel that and see this, and then maybe you need to. You gotta find your place.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? You gotta
Yeah.
find. You gotta find your place. So
Yeah. That's good. That's good, brother. No, I appreciate that. I think everything that you're tying into right here brings me back to an initial comment that you made about the importance of identity. And people can't have an identity crisis if they're going to be in this business. And part of having the right team around them is to help them foster that and understand what it is or identify it, I guess you could say, because I think everything else trickles from that. Whether or not they're winning and on a high or they're losing and they're on a low. I think that's a pivotal part about it.
it,
This is good.
it definitely is. It's it's so much, and then with the travel of social media, and you can paint the picture of wherever
Hmm.
you want to be, or you can describe yourself to, it's such a social media can be amazing thing for your career, and then it can dampen and hurt your soul also, because
Hmm.
when you're winning, hey,
Everybody loves you.
everybody's in the comment section or reposting the KO or whatever way.
Right.
Lose, everybody's in there. They got all the advice for you. You need to change the tune. Your coach is probably was this, that one girl that you showed in the picture, or that guy, or you need to do this and that. You know what I mean? Even friends and family got all they know the route to take when you're winning, but when you take an L, they just don't know right now. But that's like that, you know what
Exactly.
I'm saying? That's the thing. Yeah,
Exactly.
everyone can really look into the crystal ball and tell you your whole future when you're winning. But when you go ahead and
Mm.
take that L, like, oh man, I don't know. You got to figure it out.
You're on your own on this one.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know about that, but I know what to do when you're winning.
Right. Doesn't take rocket science for that.
Yeah,
Finally, I want to ask you here, Mo, as well, in regards to Team
yeah,
Murcielago
now,
and your own future,
mhm.
as a coach. What do you kind of see as the forecast, if you would, for
Yeah,
the
now,
future with the team that you're currently on, and you as a coach and in general
um,
yourself?
the biggest thing is that uh, we're going to keep, building and, keeping guys at the highest level. We're going to, great things are coming. I got a lot of great things that's coming up. Charles Johnson's ranked 13. Chaos is going to be getting back in there to make his return. Decline is going to be here fighting soon. Mondo is going to be returning back to the PFL. Jake Scott, Aaron Ward, they're all going to be um, going to hit him with getting back in to make that dance. We currently now got Elise Anderson from ONE FC. She's gonna be eventually fighting here very soon. Yeah, it's gonna just the the uh stay in the course, stay in the track. And then for myself, yeah, I'm just elevating, I'm be working with more people, just advancing. you know, staying relevant, keeping myself, in the game and evolving and getting better as a coach. Things like that. Just, still creating a beautiful display of the people for Mercy. That's the thing, putting on for the brand.
Mhm. That's what's up, because it is a family, like you say,
Yeah.
right? You guys
Yep.
are yeah, that's what's up. That's awesome. Well, Mo, it's been a pleasure speaking with you, brother. I appreciate you joining me here, and we look forward to chopping it up again with you in the near future.
Oh, of course. Thank you so much. It was definitely an honor being on here. Anytime reach out to me. I'll be having something in the works of my own podcast coming soon. And yeah,
Nice.
just you guys can follow me on Instagram at Machete85, and you can follow me on Facebook at Mo Williams.
That's what's up. Thank you, brother.
All right,
Appreciate you.
you.